morning, Nigeria. Welcome to another interesting edition of Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television, your channel of choice, where inspiration meets entertainment. I am Samson Balogun. I will say thank you for joining us on the show this morning. We'll begin the show with the gist, and that is the report that the federal government has released 48 names of individuals and companies who are said to be fingered in the sponsorship of terrorism in Nigeria. These are more we'll discuss on the show this morning.
And I'm Oluwayemi Adelako. I welcome you once again to the show. This is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. And after that, of course, we'll take the news. Before then, we'll take weather report. We'll go on a short break, then we'll take the news. And after the news, we'll come back again to take the newspaper headlines and analysis. All right.
Shortly after that, I will head straight to the big story. And that is talking about what the faith of the opposition is in Nigeria in the face of the current situation they have found themselves. And the president also mentioned that he enjoys when the opposition is in disarray. How does that, how would that pan out going into the 2027 general elections? That is our topic on the big story this morning. I will be joined by the chairman of the AAC Action, the AAC in Nigeria, and that, of course, in Oyo State, that is Kayode Babayomi. He joins us on the show this morning to share his insights on this particular topic.
And of course, after that, we'll always take Trend Watch to tell you what's trending in the world of politics in Nigeria. And then we'll sign out after then.
We shall begin. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
It's really nice to be back here.
All right.
Particularly glad to be back here this morning, especially with what's on the table and that we have to discuss this morning. Do not forget that we just mentioned that the federal government just for a long time, people have asked this question. Yes, there are some people who have been linked to terrorism financing in Nigeria. But then, nobody has said anything about it. Even last week, we mentioned the fact that has this list been swept under the carpet? And then, boom, over the weekend, the presidency came out and released a lot of names. And 48 of them, individuals, establishments who are said to be involved in terrorism financing. That says a lot about the direction this administration is facing, especially when it comes to fighting terrorism in the country.
Right. When I saw the list, I think I mentioned it on Friday. They said they were going to release the list, and then we're not seeing. Maybe they release it tomorrow, and then just boom, I saw it on the internet on Saturday, and then I think it's a welcome development. Even though Nigerians are asking that why is it that they didn't release pictures of those people? Because if you look at some of the names, some of the names are
familiar names.
Yeah, familiar names. But then some of the names, a lot of Nigerians cannot really tell who they are. So Nigerians are asking for pictures so that they can be able to tell who is this
and identify them.
And I think that's a good one coming from Nigerians, honestly. And then beyond that, it's not just about releasing the list. Okay, before we continue, we need to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll trash the issue much better.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
I welcome you back. Still talking about the 48 names that were released last week, and that's what we are trying to munch on this morning. So I was saying that some Nigerians asked for pictures of some of these people, and then beyond that, a lot of Nigerians are concerned about what is going to be done with the list. It's not just about releasing a list, because, I mean, a few years back, I think 2024, a particular list was also released. About 12 names were on that list, and then few weeks after, we didn't hear so much about the list. So now we have 48 names. Can we do something with the list? Because one thing we lack in this country is not information. You know, one thing we lack is the willpower, is to take actions, because we've heard quite a number of things. Even United States, you know, released some information to the Nigerian, you know, security operatives at the time. But what was done with that information? And then beyond that, I also learned that over the weekend, about over 500, you know, terrorism suspects were actually, you know, taken to court. And then out of those 500, I think report is having it that over 300 were convicted, while they were, you know, acquittals and discharges. So Nigerians are asking, why is it that you decided to discharge somebody who was, you know, taken into custody for terrorism? But then the AGF, Lateef Fagbemi, said that is due process. Even across the entire world, they do that. So you have to take them to court. They have to plead their case. So if they are guilty, then you convict them. If they are not guilty, then you set them free. So it's also a good development. But then my issue is the fact that I also read in the news at some points that some terrorists were kept in the custody for about 10 years. What are they doing there? How many years will it take the court to actually convict somebody or set the person free? So I think it speaks to the judicial system, I think, in one part, and of course our security system as well. I think our system is a little bit too weak, because the punishment is lax. You know, that's why they keep increasing the number. So if the punishment is a bit tough, I mean, we should have seen reduction in the number of, you know, terrorists. So I think one more thing we need to do besides releasing this list is working on our system, because it should be strong enough to make sure that it would deter people from actually saying, I want to venture into it. I read a story, and then the defense of those persons, you know, was that they are in poverty, and that's why they decided to venture into terrorism. It's not an excuse. You know, you can be poor. Yes, Nigeria is not even the poorest country in the world. So we need to do something about the system. We need to make it stronger. And one more thing is, this is not good for us in the global space, because in 2025, the global index that was released, you know, Nigeria ranks 6th amongst countries that are most terrorized in the entire world. 2026, the index was released and Nigeria ranks 4th. What a development. If care is not taken, we might jump to number 2. What are we doing about it? So these are the issues. We have the list now, but what can we do with the list? Basically?
All right, it's really a big one that Nigeria decided to actually publish a list. I mean, kudos to this administration. It's something the last administration really could not follow through on. But now that we have a list, some want to believe that you know, there's still more, and we should get more of that. Because I was speaking to some individuals over the weekend and said, look, it might just seem like some of these names were removed. Maybe for a to be released at a later date, but then we'll see what will happen. The list we have released now, 48 of them, what will happen to them? Like you mentioned, according to stories emanating from the pages of the newspaper over the weekend, it says that these accounts have been frozen. That is good news, because now you cannot finance, you cannot fund. And it is also really sad that even Nigerians are aiding and abetting, you know, terrorism in the country. What do you do when you supply them with materials, supply them food? Because I could remember during the Civil War, one of the things that actually brought the Civil War to an end was the fact that the supply chain was actually, you know, cut, and that was by the late sage Obafemi Awolowo, and said, look, you cannot be fighting an enemy and then you keep them giving them food. If you stop giving them food, you'll be shocked that they will be the ones to surrender. And lo and behold, that was exactly what happened, because eventually they came to a compromise, and then the Civil War was brought to an end. So You mentioned an individual that was kept in custody for over 10 years. Not just him, a few of them like that who were there. In fact, he was a former senatorial candidate of a particular political party in Nigeria. And what he was doing, his major business was to supply them fuel. So he would buy fuel at the black market and then supply to Boko Haram, ISWAP, and some other bandits like that. And then he was caught in the act. He was actually put in jail, not because he was tried. He was still going through trial, and at the end of the day, when the judgment was passed, he had already spent 10 years, which was more or less like the judgment to be given to him in court, and then was discharged after the court case. So the problem, just like you mentioned, is partly judiciary, okay? How are we interpreting our laws, the constitution of the country? Because it is quite important. Because every decision you make today serves as precedence for cases that will come in the next few years. Because they will now refer back to it. According to Yemi and so in 2005, this is what happened. Okay? And that, for me, will take precedence in court. Because the lawyer, the legal practitioner representing such criminal as a basis, has something to work with. Even if the judgment is going to be different, maybe because the case is slightly different to what was there, then it's still going to be almost similar. Let's just be sure that we are doing the right thing. Because terrorism anywhere around the world, I don't see anybody that says, I'm a terrorist and then I've repented. How do you integrate former terrorists into the Nigerian military, into the society? I mean, they don't change. That's the problem. But unfortunately, there was an administration in Nigeria that felt like, oh, because they are my kinsmen, there's something I should do. And that is totally bad. Another problem is the fact that one person gets a particular judgment for one thing, and another person gets another judgment for the same thing, or maybe almost similar. And it's totally sad. Outside the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I'm not pleading his case, I'm just trying to say this, for example, who was said to have been vocal when it comes to maybe inspiring some people into committing some crimes. Because even Nnamdi Kanu himself was never caught with a gun or anything. But the fact that he was more or less like the backbone. He was saying a lot of things on his radio Biafra, and then he was caught. He's been sentenced to life in jail. And not even in the southwest or in the south or southeast. Sokoto. He was sent to the north for some reasons. Because we have seen cases of jailbreak in Nigeria. And then this has happened maybe a few times. But then, to stop that, he was sent to Sokoto. And someone else, committing almost the same crime, is still walking free in Nigeria right now. So the problem now is how we interpret our laws. Okay, because you are Hausa and a fellow Hausa man must not, be put in jail because of a particular crime, but then a Yoruba man can be sent to jail, or maybe someone from the southeast can be sent to jail. Another thing is, because you are Igbo, your kinsman cannot be sent to jail because of a particular crime. And another problem is the menace of the social media warlords, the keypad warriors on social media. They have changed so many narratives in Nigeria, and we are beginning to get it wrong. For example, someone has done a particular thing, okay, and needs to be tried. And then you see some people making all sorts of noise on social media just because, oh, this person is a brother of mine. And a problem that has actually snowballed into political alliances. Someone will say, oh, because you are Yoruba, you cannot support a Yoruba man. You are they call you all sorts of names because you are supporting a fellow Yoruba man. But it is easy for you from the southeast to support your kinsmen for vying for the same office. It is easy for you from the north to support someone from your region fighting for the same office. But if it is the turn of someone from the southwest to now do the same, then you call them all sorts of names. In fact, I was going through some posts on social media over the weekend, and I was saddened by what I saw. Because we are beginning to, I wrote an article about it, that these monsters you are breeding, by the time they start biting you, you will not be there. In fact, you will find a place to hide. It's just a case of someone who, has these wild dogs at home. You've been feeding them, they've been doing fine, especially these imported dogs. And
when they turn on you,
one day, it turns, you hide. But then the dogs will have, the people in your community to deal with. And that's a problem that you created that will be a problem for other people. And that's exactly what we are saying. There used to be a time when some politicians in Nigeria will give weapons to criminals, okay, just because you want them to fight your battle during electoral campaign periods. And then when the election is over, probably you won, maybe you lost. You cannot retrieve all these weapons back from them, meaning that they will become armed robbers. They will now start snatching bags. Those are not your bags. They are bags of innocent Nigerians. Okay? That is exactly the same thing we are breeding in Nigeria. If you have been caught for terrorism financing, what will be your faith? It's a big question. And now that the list has been released, a lot of names, familiar names are there. But Nigerians cannot place the picture and the name together. Why not put their pictures? Let's have their details, okay? Let everyone know that there's another thing people say, that you cannot shame the shameless. But in Nigeria, let us shame the shameless. Because for a person to have actually worked so hard to make money, maybe you actually stole it when you were in office or anyway, or maybe you collected contract that was not due to you. But then that does not mean you should spend the same money against your country. And that's treason. Okay, anyone that has been caught or whose name is on that list, by now I expect some arrests to have been made. But unfortunately, we have not heard anything like that. That, for me, is another low when it comes to fighting terrorism in this country.
Right. Honestly, I think you're very spot on. And then one more thing that we also need to look at is 48 names were released. What banks are they using to transfer money? Can we find that?
So are you saying no banker flagged these transactions all these years? I mean, if it was Samson Balogun that sent maybe 150 million that you have never seen in my account before, I mean, someone would have spoken to me by now. Or maybe I would have found myself with a banking or because I cannot transfer money. But unfortunately, people send money at will. And for that matter, sending money to terrorists. These are the people destroying the nation. And you are saying nobody flagged these transactions.
Right. And that's a huge amount of money. It's not just 10 million.
I mean, it's not 10 million, 5 million. This is not money to buy noodles.
Yes.
It is money to buy weapons, ammunition. And you are sending it a lot of money, going to the same account. I mean, when you start sending, there are some transactions that are suspicious. Even a layman who's not a banker will notice these transactions should be checked. But unfortunately, someone sat down and watched all of these things happen.
If it's maybe a young boy of 25 or 26 that is making such transactions, I bet they would have picked him up. Right. Because, I mean, that's easy. So it speaks to the rot in the system as well. So can we find the bank that they work with? Can we trace it? It's very easy. So if you can trace the bank, then maybe you might need to do more arrests or release more names because, I mean, those people are also complicit. So if you ensure that these people are transferring money and then we need to fish them out. And one more thing is someone even said sometimes they might not even deal in transfers. Maybe they deal in cash. That's also valid because if you see, looking at that list now, it speaks to how they're able to get arms and ammunition, the sophisticated arms, because so many times the soldiers have fled the scene because when they saw the arms that these guys were carrying, they had to run for their lives.
They are no match for
It's
them.
Expensive. You know, it's weighty compared to what they are carrying. Maybe Nigerian soldiers went there with pump action, and these people are carrying more than what is more dire than AK-47. So these are the issues. Let's find the bank accounts. Let's find those who are helping them to make the transfers, because obviously these people will not make the transfers themselves. Maybe they are even using Bona account, things like that. Let's find those things out. And then what about the phones? You know, can we bring these people in for questioning? They must have Bona phones. You know, they communicate with Bona. You don't even need to watch American movie and start talking about LAPD. We can also exercise those things in Nigeria. Get the Bona phones, get the bank accounts, and it's easy. You can be able to even cut more by making sure that you investigate all those processes. So until we can begin to do that, it's a problem. And the one more thing is, I said that the problem of Nigeria is not lack of information, it's lack of will. There was this headline that was reported recently that says Israeli envoy says Iran spreading terrorism in Nigeria, backing Islamic movement, Shiite protests. What did we do with that information? So many information has been released over the last 1 year. What are we doing with it? This year, it will make it 17 years since we have been dealing with terrorism in Nigeria. It started in 2009. So are we going to continue to count years? Maybe we have to back with 30 years. That's when we'll be serious. 17 years of dealing with terrorism, and there's no victory in sight. It has only become worse. It's a problem, and I don't know what we are doing with the information. And it's not just about this administration. It's been accumulating over the years. And then it's like this current year now, the situation is so dire. The president went to Plateau State and said he will ensure that nothing like this will happen again. That's a good statement. But what are we doing? No, it's not just about talking. What are we doing to back up the statement? Because words sometimes can be so cheap, honestly. These are the issues, really.
Well, one thing that I know that can be done in this situation is that all these names, these people, if they are being prosecuted, all of them are arrested, it sends a very strong signal that even the person, paying your bills is in trouble. Then you have to cut the supply chain too. Individuals who are caught supplying them should pay for it. Okay? Because how do your family members are being killed on a daily basis, and then you chose that the best thing for you to make money is off their bloods, because that's what you're doing. It's not different from ritual killings, because you are taking money off the bloods of your fellow kinsmen, people who ordinarily would still be alive if not for this mishap that has befallen Nigeria when it comes to terrorism. So I think that there are several ways to handle this issue. But the most important thing is to make sure that we cut all the supply chains. And I think that it was also over the weekend that His Excellency Babangana Umar Zulum was talking about a particular market in the northeast, where some people, even reporters, did not help the case. According to Babangana Zulum, he said they were reporting that individuals were killed in a drone strike by the Nigerian military on a particular market. And he came out to say, look, this market has been sealed by the government for 5 years. But these terrorists are going there. They created a market of their own, and they were, buying and selling there. So it was a stronghold of Islamic State, ISWAP, and Boko Haram. And then they had to do something about it to make sure that actions and activities in that part of the country actually stops. But then some people reported it differently to what the governor. In fact, he came out to debunk the rumor that it was individuals that were killed. However, if we know their strongholds, what exactly are we doing to make sure we wipe them off the surface of the earth? Because nobody that takes another person's life deserves to live. But unfortunately, we tend to pamper some people. It is because we want to pamper their sponsors that even the stooges, people who are actually sent to carry out these dastardly acts, are actually walking free, and they feel like, in fact, they were making, a few months ago, they were making TikTok videos, and they were smiling about it. They were counting monies, in fact, running to hundreds of millions of naira, on the floor. And you begin to wonder, who gave them these monies? Because I'm sure that it cannot be individuals who were kidnapped. It has to be someone stronger that actually, sent these monies to them. And then how do you get such an amount of money out of the Nigerian economy, or maybe from the bank, or from individuals, and you don't even know that these monies are too much to be moved, in cash? But unfortunately, I think we tend to look away too much in Nigeria. You see something, but you are not going to say something because it does not concern you. But hey, if it eventually happens, it will be your own problem too, because if an individual in your family, someone in your community gets killed because you failed to say something, the guilt will always be there for life. But if the government really wants to do something about it, I think these individuals by now should be in custody. Whoever is out of the country, what's the essence of Interpol when you cannot arrest someone in other countries, unless that person is on an asylum? But I do know for a fact that if you have bilateral agreements with some countries, especially the US and the UK, if this person is a terrorist, what they will do, in fact, they can help you prosecute this person.
We've seen it happen in Nigeria. They picked up some persons in other countries.
They will do it. Nnamdi Kanu was not arrested in Nigeria.
He was picked up.
He was picked up somewhere else. And this, I know, can be done only, just like you said, if there is the willpower to get it done.
And then just to conclude, I think there was a situation that happened, I think last year, terrorists in their tents, they were on bikes, and then they went for a marriage ceremony. And then they were there for hours. They ate, they danced, and they left. And nothing was done.
That was because the security agencies didn't want to disturb the merriment.
Okay.
They wanted to, catch them in action.
Okay.
That was just by the side.
These are the issues. We really know what we can do to solve
It's actually,
this,
disappointing that, we get to see such things in the country. But I do hope that in the near future, things will change.
Right.
It's on that note we say thank you for being a part of the show so far. But then let's help you plan your day. Let's see what the weather looks like across the country. And we'll be starting with the ancient metropolitan city of hospitality, Ibadan, this morning. What does the weather look like in Ibadan right now? Weather in Ibadan is currently at 29 degrees Celsius, but there will be just a slight rise to 30 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be partly cloudy. The humidity will be at 2%. But in the afternoon, not so different, just 2 degrees Celsius difference to that of the morning. But there's a promise of scattered thunderstorms with humidity rising to 50%. By evening, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy. Humidity returns to 2%, while overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius, cloudy. Humidity at 3% right there in Ibadan today.
And from Ibadan, we cross to Osun-Osogbo. Weather feels like 32 degrees Celsius this morning. And later in the morning is expected to be around 31 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 10%. In the afternoon, we have 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 24%. And in the evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 6%. And overnight, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 6%. And from Osun, let's cross to Ekiti, southwest.
All right, in Ekiti this morning, weather is currently at 32 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, all right, in Ekiti, weather is currently at 24 degrees Celsius. It rises by 5 degrees Celsius to 29 degrees Celsius later in the morning. And in the afternoon, it rises further to 31 degrees Celsius. And by evening, it will drop to 25 degrees Celsius, cloudy, with humidity at 3%. And overnight, there's a slight drop to 24 degrees Celsius. It will be cloudy, and humidity rises to 15% right there in Ekiti today.
And from Ekiti, let's cross to Lagos. Weather this morning feels like 34 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning, it's expected to be around 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 11%. In the afternoon, we have 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 8%. And in the evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 4%. And overnight, it drops further to 27 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 13%. And that's what we have for Lagos this morning. And from Lagos, let's cross to Maiduguri, Borno State.
All right. Okay, before Maiduguri in Borno State, let's take Kwara, and that is in the north central. All right, so weather in Kwara right now is currently at 26 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, there will be a rise to 31 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly sunny in Kwara this morning, and humidity will be around 1%. By afternoon, it rises to 35 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly cloudy, with humidity also rising to 13%. But there will be a drop to 29 degrees Celsius in the evening. It will be partly cloudy, and humidity will be at 4%. It drops further to 26 degrees Celsius overnight. Cloudy, and of course, humidity at 1% right there in Kwara today.
And from Kwara, we cross to Port Harcourt, Rivers State, where the feels like 22 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning is expected to be around 25 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 24%. In the afternoon, we have 28 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 22%. And in the evening, it drops to 23 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 2%. And overnight, it drops to 21 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 5%. And from Port Harcourt, let's cross to Kwara. No, we are not crossing to Kwara. From Port Harcourt, let's cross to FCT Abuja this morning.
All right. Okay, let's take FCT. Weather in FCT right now is currently at 25 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, it will rise to 31 degrees Celsius, similar to that of Kwara State this morning. Maybe because they are both in the north central. But it will be partly cloudy later in the morning, humidity at 1%. And by afternoon, rises by 4 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius, remaining partly cloudy, humidity at 2%. By evening, it drops to 30 degrees Celsius, and it will be mostly clear, 0 chance of humidity. And overnight, it will be partly cloudy, and of course, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius with humidity at 1% in the FCT today.
And from FCT, we cross to Borno, Maiduguri. Weather feels like 26 degrees Celsius this morning, and later is expected to be around 36 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0%. In the afternoon, we have 41 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0% as well. And in the evening, it drops to 33 degrees Celsius, mostly clear around 0%. And overnight, it drops to 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And that's what we have for Borno, Maiduguri this morning. And of course, that will be all that we can take this morning, speaking about weather report. Do well to follow us across our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Cast. Do well to drop your comment. We are live right now on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be right back. We take a short break to take the news. Please stay with us.
live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at
Hello and welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television, Ibadan. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. The Nigerian Air Force has confirmed carrying out an air operation in the Jili axis of Borno State, saying the strike was based on credible intelligence and coordinated with ground troops. The confirmation follows reports that the operation hit the busy Jili weekly markets along the Borno-Yobe border, killing several traders and injuring many others. NAF spokesperson Air Commodore Ayman Ejodame said the mission was aimed at restricting terrorist movement and preventing further attacks in the northeast. He added that the Air Force will sustain intelligence-led operations to restore peace in the region. The United States has commended the Nigerian government for securing the conviction of 386 terrorism suspects, describing it as a major step toward justice and accountability. In a statement shared on X, a senior U.S. State Department official praised Nigeria's effort to fast-track terrorism trials, saying timely justice is critical to strengthen public confidence in the rule of law. The U.S. also reaffirmed support for Nigeria's judicial reforms, noting that transparent legal processes are key to long-term peace, security, and stability. The federal government has urged Dangote Sugar Refinery to raise its annual production capacity to 600,000 metric tons by 2030 to support Nigeria's sugar self-sufficiency drive. Minister of State for Industry, Senator John Enoh, gave the charge during an inspection visit to the company's Newman plant in Adamawa State. He said Nigeria's current local sugar production remains far below the country's annual demand of about 1.8 million metric tons, stressing that major operators must help close the supply gap. And in business, the federal government has approved the 2026 fiscal policy measures cutting import tariffs on 127 items to stimulate growth in key sectors of the economy. A circular signed by Finance Minister Wale Edun said the new policy replaces the 2023 framework. Under the revised regime, tariffs on fully built passenger vehicles were reduced to 40% from 70%, while the import adjustment tax on crude palm oil was cut to an effective 28.7%. The government also granted a 90-day grace period for importers who opened from M before April 1st to clear goods at old rates. However, a new excise duty regime and green tax surcharge will take effect from July 1st, 2026. And in sports, the Nigeria Premier Football League (NPFL) has rescheduled the March Day 34 fixture between El Kameni Warriors and Nasarawa United. The match, originally fixed for Sunday, April 12, will now be played on Tuesday, April 14th, 2026, at the El Kanemi Sports Center in Maiduguri, following flight schedule complications. El Kanemi Warriors head into the encounter under pressure as the Maiduguri side is yet to record a win in its last 6 league matches and sit just 3 points above the relegation zone. Nasarawa United, meanwhile, will be aiming to bounce back from last weekend's home defeat to Khan Khalifa FC as they continue their push for a stronger finish on the league table. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cars. And that's Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakon saying thank you for watching and good morning. welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Newspaper Headlines and Analysis. I'm Oluwayemi Adela. Quite a number of headlines to mention this morning. Don't forget that the politics is eating up. So we start with the Punch newspaper. And I have the banner headline that says Military Defense Borno strike as death toll rises. Strike site terrorist enclave army. Borno government insists. Yobe Sema says some victims were traders. And then Chief of Army Staff, Buratai defends military action as Atiku amnesty condemned killings. Zulum warns residents against aiding terrorists. Yobe Councillor claims 200 dead, over 40 hospitalized. That's a huge number. 200 people died because of this attack in Borno, a market that Zulum said was closed down for about 5 years, and that we have about 40 persons hospitalized. It should not have happened at all. Even if it was just one person that died, I mean, that's a lot. And then it speaks to the insecurity that has been biting so hard in this country as we speak. You know, when did the Plateau attack happen? Now we're already seeing another attack in Borno State. And away from that line, we also have this one that says 2027 TOSU, Supreme Court hears ADC PDP crisis suit Tuesday. That's slated for tomorrow. Don't forget we have two factions in the ADC as we speak. We have the David Mark-led faction, we have the Nofi Bala faction, and they're still trying to slug it out amongst themselves. Who will take over the leadership of that party is even dangling as we speak. Do you think they'll be able to unite before the general election? And that's the fear of the opposition parties, to say they don't want one person on the ballot for the presidential election. But then looking at what is going on, and of course the Supreme Court's ruling on that matter, I don't see them uniting soon. But then they need to unite, because if you look at the PDP as well, factions here and there, disunity, and then they're even planning for a convention. And then if you look at the Labour Party, even the leadership in the Labour Party is a huge mess. You talk about the Nandandi faction, talk about the Abure faction. So the only party that is united now, sadly, is the APC. We are not hearing of any faction. All the opposition parties have one faction or another. It's a problem. I don't know how we got here, speaking about our political parties in Nigeria. It was not this bad, even in the last election. And away from that line, I also have this one that says 2027 ADC mobilizes 3,000 delegates for Abuja convention. Obviously, we know the faction that is set for the convention. That's the David Mark faction. And then the court is saying they should not go on with that convention. Even INEC, Joash Amopiton, went on national TV to say they should not have that convention because of the court ruling. And because of that, the big shot of the David Mark faction, speaking about Atiku, Aregbesola, and then quite a number of them are saying Joash Amopiton is interfering too much in their internal affairs, that if at all they are going through any issue, they can solve it amongst themselves. And then Joash and of course INEC and the court should not really interfere. And away from that line, I also have this one that says Makinde Ladoja fought Fayose over alleged dethronement plot. Don't forget that Makinde and Fayose, initially they used to be friends, but only God knows what happened between them. And then there's this rumor in town that Makinde is trying to dethrone the current Ladoja that we have now, the current Oba that we have, Olubado that we have. But then Makinde has said, no, I'm not trying to do that. Even Ladoja is not in support of that rumor. And of course, the loyalists of the governor, that's Governor Shea Makinde, are saying, do not listen to Fayose. Is looking for another means to trend. Don't forget that they've been having issues, especially throughout last year, when the issue of 50 billion, 30 billion came up. And then the governor said, okay, we received 30 billion, we didn't receive the remaining 20 billion. And then they had to slug that out on the internet for months. And now there's this issue of he's trying to dethrone the Ladoja, he's trying to dethrone the Oba, that's the Lubado. It's a problem. But then we'll find out whether that is true or is still a rumor in the next few months. Let's cross over to another headline this morning that says ADC, no, not ADC right now. Navy says it's 2 vessels with stolen crude. I think that's a good development to see that we're able to nip this on the board. But let me tell you, this has been going on for years. But it's a good development that we're able to seize 2 vessels with stolen crude. That speaks to the rot in the system. It's so porous that people can get away with anything. And then from Punch newspaper, let's cross to The Nation. And I have this headline that says, bombs rain on fleeing terrorists, many killed at notorious market. And I want to say kudos to the army, to the security operatives. We're able to nip that on the board. And then looking at the result that we have, I think a lot of them were caught. And then regardless of that, so many people died. And then we can't really blame the army. Maybe they didn't get the information on time or things like that. But then it speaks to the roots one more time that we are more reactive than proactive. Was there no intel on that attack that happened before it happened? Because don't forget, in some part of the nation, these terrorists wrote letters to the community members that they are coming, and then nothing was done. They went there, they carried out the attack, and they escaped. But then nothing was still done. We've not been able to put names to these terrorists that are committing a lot of crimes across the nation. And away from that, I also have this one that says, Tinubu redesigning North's economic future through Kano, says Yuwatda. Well, Kano, speaking about the population, is quite huge. And of course, if the governor, I beg your pardon, if the president is trying to do this, I think it's a good one, especially now that it's coming from the national chairman of the APC, Yuwatda. And away from that, I also have this one that says 100 million Nigerians captured in tax net, says Oyedele. That's huge. Our population now over 250 million Nigerians. So if 100 million Nigerians are captured in the tax net, do you think it suffices? What about the rest, the over 150 million people that we have in this country? And then the writer is saying artisans move to enlist at a CSC. And crossing over, I have another headline that says IG declares war on highway extortion by policemen. This is a menace. And then I remember that at a point, an Australian writer came to Nigeria, and then he was at the airport, and then he lamented. He went on his page, posted a video on his IG, and said that he was really harassed by some policemen asking for money. He said he had to drop money at so many points. They were asking him for money, and then these people can never be used to this because it's not so in their country. So I think we need to tone it down, because even as a person, if you enter a bike or enter a cab, you experience things like that. Your cab driver will have to pay so amount to these people just so he can go freely. It's a problem. So then the defense of these policemen is that their salary is nothing to write home about, that some of them, they even have to buy their uniform themselves. You need to see the uniform of some of these policemen, especially their shoes too. It speaks to the problem that we have in this country. If they cannot afford to buy those things with their salary, how are they even supposed to feed? So, but then that's not to excuse that behavior of trying to tax people, at different points or the other. But we need to do something about the welfare of the police officers in this country. And that's one problem that we are dealing with, speaking about terrorism in this country. The defense of some of these people is that they are poor, they are living in poverty. And then if you look at some persons that have been caught over time that are giving arms to these people, some of them are in the police force, some of them are in the army, but they will do that willingly just to get some cash so they can feed their family. So we need to work on this. Weaponized poverty is not doing us any good in this country. So I'm not trying to excuse that behavior of the police officers. We need to work on that, because at some point, do you know some persons have died because of this? Because even some police officers have lost their lives because they were trying to run after some cab drivers, and then they lost their lives in that process. So it's a problem, and we need to work on it. It's not good for us in the global space. Imagine, Australian writer came there, and it's not the first person to do that we complain about this whole taxing them to give them some amounts. It's a problem, and we need to work on that. And then away from that line, let's also check this one that says 7 insurance companies seek approval to raise 100 billion. That's a huge amount of money. And then from the Nation, we cross to the Guardian newspaper. I have this one that says Nigeria faces fiscal inflation strain as market bets on $100 plus oil rally. Don't forget that in the last few days, the president said something that Nigeria is not on the brink and that we are getting better, speaking about our economy. And a lot of economists, they don't agree with the president, because looking at what is going on, the inflation is biting. It has gone up, I think, about 67% or so now. Speaking about the last reports that I had, if you look at the price of goods in the market, talk about fuel. So one thing we don't understand in this country is once the price of fuel goes up, it affects every single thing. It affects transportation, it affects the price of goods in the market, it affects a lot of things. Even when you go to the cafe, you want to print, they will tell you the price has gone up. Why? Fuel is expensive. And so any little thing they will tell you, fuel is expensive. And you cannot really blame them. Can you really blame the sellers, the marketers, the producers, because they have to transport their goods too? So it's a problem. It affects virtually everything. And that's why inflation is going up and it's not coming down. Good statement coming from the president trying to tell us that things are going well. But then beyond that, we need to see fiscal achievements that he's been able to do in this administration. And from that headline, we need to cross to another headline this morning. It's the taking headlines from the Guardian newspaper. I have this one that says, crisis hit ADC in state ahead of May 12 Exco inauguration. We've spoken about that already. The crisis is going on in the ADC as we speak. So one rumor that I'm hearing across the street is that these people might actually leave the ADC at some point and maybe move to another political party. There are even rumors surrounding, people that might contest for presidency in the ADC. Speaking about Peter Obi, some are saying he might still go back to the Labour Party. Some are saying he might remain in the ADC. But one thing that Nigerians are so sure about is that he's not crossing to the ruling party. Never say never. Anything can happen. I always say on this platform that, we have not seen the biggest defection. We are waiting for it even as we speak, because some defection will shock Nigerians to their core, and that's going to come in the next few weeks before the deadline of INEC. And away from that headline, I'm still taking headlines from The Guardian. I have this one that says, Oyo government denies alleged plan to remove Olubadan. Of course, I've spoken about that. Makinde's loyalists are saying that's a rumor. Don't mind Fayose. He's trying to trend, he's trying to do this and do that. Whether it's a rumor or not, we'll find out. But then there's even a rumor surrounding the relationship between both of them that's a little bit strained, but we really cannot tell because the body language of Olubadan and of course Makinde is not speaking to that. We are not seeing whether they are not in good terms or not, but we can look out for that. We can read between the lines. In the next few weeks or months, we'll get to find out the truth about this whole matter. And away from that, I also have this one that says, engineers warn of earthquake threat in Lagos, Ibadan, Benin and Abeokuta. I think we need to note that because earthquake is not something we can just be relaxed about. And then these areas, Lagos, Ibadan, Benin and Abeokuta, and are still in the southwest and of course in the southeast as we speak. And then away from that, let's cross to Vanguard newspaper. And I have the banner headline that says, debt pressure mount, federal government borrows 8.1 trillion naira in 2026. Represents 7.4% from fourth quarter 2025. Analysts cite revenue gaps, fiscal indiscipline, urge federal government to cut waste, boost revenue, rising debt, crippling ability to fund infrastructure. That's coming from World Bank. Don't forget this 8.1 trillion naira. But let's even assume they want to deduct this money, or they want to do a calculation on how much every Nigerian is owing. It's a lot of money, and I don't know how we got to this point, because at a time in this country, a certain president was able to actually pay off all the debt. Yes. Conspiracy theory, he didn't do that alone. He worked alongside some person like Okonjo Iweala, diplomacy and this and that. But then we can also use diplomacy this time around. Can we pay off, all this debt? And why do we keep borrowing? The issue is not borrowing. I tell you for free that even the Western countries, at some point, they borrowed heavily. But then most of the citizens could see the dividends of this borrowing. They could see the effect. They could see this, they could see that. But are Nigerians seeing the effect of this huge amount that we are borrowing? And don't forget, if care is not taken, we might slide into neocolonialism. It's that simple. That our leaders will make some deals that are not so apparent to the people that will come back to bite us. Because that's the problem now. Because these people are borrowing us money. On what grounds? What is the deal? We are not getting to know that. People are not speaking. The leaders are not talking. We just hear that the Senate approves so amount, and then we receive the money, but we don't know the deals that have been signed for us to get this money. It's a problem. 8.1 trillion naira. That's a huge amount of money. If you look at the money that's been set aside for election in this year, you'll be shocked. Initially in 2023, it was about 335 trillion naira. Now you need to see the amount. It has gone up, and we need to do something about it. And away from that, we also need to check out this headline that says, Kwakwanso explains rejecting 80%, settling for 60% in ADCD. And then I think it's something we need to talk about. Don't forget, recently Kwakwanso moved to the ADC. And then this headline is saying explains rejecting 80%, settling for 60% in ADCD. You see, these people are making deals on Nigerians, and at the end of the day we have to bear the brunt. 80%, 60%, and if care is not taken, this whole deal will lead to problem at the end of the day. Don't forget the issue between Wiki and Fubara. it was because of a deal. You give me this, you give me that, I take this. And at the end of the day, it didn't work out. And that's why we got to know about the problem. And even up till now, though in a way it looks like there's been a sort of peace, a subtle peace, but then you can still tell that things are not going on between these two individuals. 60%, 80% of a political party that has not won election in how many years now, that has not done so much for the country. Yeah, they're even planning to actually get people to register. I don't know the number of people they have currently. I think Aisha Yusufu mentioned sometime on national TV that they have millions of people who are already registered, and the Nigerians laughed about it to say that how did she come about that figure? Now they're already planning 60%, 80%. Let's be clear on this deal before we proceed, because one thing I see, yeah, the opposition parties might blame the ruling party, blame the president for their woes. But what about the internal problems, the ego of some of the big shots in this ADC? And if you are not careful, that party might not go anywhere. Just like the PDP, ego is what is ruining the PDP as we speak now. And I don't know they've been able to inflict the ADC, because I mean, if you look at people in the ADC, majority of them left the PDP. So I mean, obviously it's going to happen. History is going to repeat itself if care is not taken. And away from that line, let's also check out this one that says that dozens fear dead as NAF probes Bono Yobe airstrike. We've spoken about that already. That attack is a gory sight. 400 people lost their lives, 40 persons hospitalized. And away from that, I also have this one that says 1,100 abducted in northern Nigeria within 3 months. 1,100, not goats, not camels, human beings abducted in northern Nigeria within 3 months. And away from that, we also have this one that says a two-faced Laulu Benjo order set to electrify Vanguard Personality of the Year awards. Of course, that's in the entertainment sector. Another headline still taken from Vanguard is saying Livestock Debt Minister leads discussion panel at Vanguard Economic Discourse. And then from Vanguard, let's cross to Daily Sun this morning. I have this one that says ADC takes survivor fight to Supreme Court. Apex Court hears Mark's appeal tomorrow. Kano allocates 60% leadership structure to Kwakwanso, 40% to Legacy Party and others. I tell you sincerely, these all 40%, 60% will cause more issue than expected. But then let's see what is going to happen at the Supreme Court tomorrow, because they are set to take the matter to the Supreme Court tomorrow. And away from that, I also have this one that says deeper energy crisis feared as U.S.-Iran peace talks stall. Expert warned federal government to ramp up crude production. And don't forget, at the time, some Nigerians were blaming Dangote refinery to say, why is it that it's not helping the matter at all? I said it, I think I said it in 2021 with my analyst on the show, and then I told him that, are we to expect Dangote to run his refinery like a public refinery? And then his answer was no, it's not possible. He spent billions of naira on that refinery. Yes, he might try to be sympathetic towards the plight of Nigerians, but you cannot he's a businessman, for crying out loud. Why, if it's so easy, why do we have 4 refineries in Nigeria that are moribund? Nothing to write home about. And we keep pumping billions into that part, and we are not seeing results. We cannot expect him to run the refinery the same way a public refinery will work for us. And away from that, I also have this one that says Delta police intensify my out for abductors of local government boards, recover vehicle used in operation. I think that's a good development coming from the police. I think they are being proactive in that manner. And away from that, I also have this one that says ex-IGP Adamu declares support for state police. We've been talking about state police for the last 5-10 years, and then it appears that the president will say, okay, I pass it to the Senate, they can decide this and that. State police will actually solve a lot of issues in this country, because these people understand the nook and crannies of their environment. They can do it better than other persons coming from far north or far east. We should encourage that, because we can see or we can tell that it's going to help improve the insecurity or reduce insecurity in this country. And away from that, let's also cross to another newspaper this morning, just before we see our BYE on the segment. Let's cross to New Telegraph, and I have this headline that says ADC David Mark's leadership is the status quo, Sage tells INEC. And this headline has its riders. Allow me to read out the headlines, the riders to you. Says eliminating competitive group from race breeds one-party state. ADC releases updated convention committee list. Ex-PDP presidential aspirant Ayatu Dane joins ADC. Supreme Court to hear David Mark led ADC's appeal against Nafi Bala tomorrow. Just like I mentioned, they are taking the matter to court tomorrow, and of course the David Mark led faction, the Nafi Bala faction are going to slug it out tomorrow. But then at the end of the day, justice will prevail. Whatever the Supreme Court decides tomorrow, that might be the fate of ADC, sadly. Whether it favors one faction or not, they might need to deal with it. And maybe other persons who are not comfortable with that Supreme Court ruling might decide to defect to another political party. But don't forget, because of the new Electoral Act, the window is actually slim now compared to before. Don't forget, some persons jumped out of their party few months to the last election that we have. But you cannot do that because of the new Electoral Act that we have on board now. So if at all you want to defect, you have like the next few days or few weeks to defect before the time that our neck has laid down for these politicians. And away from that, we also have this one that says over 50 fear dead as NAV airstrike hits Bono Yobe border market. We've spoken about that. Another headline is saying terrorism, U.S. hails federal government over convictions of 386 Islamist militant. We've also discussed that. And then this one is saying poor neighborhoods may be speeding up your biological clock, and that's a study report. Actually, I think this is very important. Poor neighborhood can actually speed up a lot of things in the lives of people, because I say it, a particular sociologist said something. He said, your environment will always contribute to your well-being. And then if you see some persons behave in a manner, you can trace it to the environment where they grew up. And then you have your answer. Your environment can be an addition to you, and it can also mar you in a way. So you need to be careful of where you live, where your children live, because at the end of the day, it's part of their makeup. It speaks about who they're going to become in future. Yeah, change can happen, but change is not constant. But change is constant, I beg your pardon. It can happen, but then you still need to be careful of the environment where you are staying. And I think it's a fine note to leave this discussion this morning. A big thank you to you for being a part of this segment. We need to take a short break, and when we come back, we move on to Big Story. My name is Oluwayemi Adelakun. Please stay with us this morning.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live like never before? Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Casts. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live. And of course, this is the big story, where we take a deep dive into issues shaping our nation and defining our democracy. Today, we turn our focus to a growing concern in Nigeria's political landscape, a weakening opposition, once seen as the backbone of democratic accountability. Opposition parties now appear divided, disjointed, and struggling to present a united front. So, this morning, we'll talk about fragmented voices, the crisis within Nigeria's opposition and its democratic consequences. What does a fractured opposition mean for governance, accountability, and the future of Nigeria's democracy? Is this a temporary phase or a dangerous trend? And to help us unpack this, We'll be joined by Honorable Gushola Ismail Heleshi, former AAC Assembly candidate in 2023 elections. Samson Balogun is my name. All right, in every thriving democracy, the opposition plays a critical role, not just as critics of government policies, but as credible alternative capable of taking over leadership when need arises. However, in Nigeria today, the opposition space is riddled with internal conflicts, leadership tussles, ideological inconsistencies, and frequent defections. Instead of presenting a cohesive front, many parties are battling crises from within, leaving citizens with limited choices and weakening democratic competition. This fragmentation raises important questions. Can democracy truly thrive without a strong opposition? Are political parties driven by ideology or personal ambition? And what are the long-term consequences for governance if this trend continues? With first-hand political experience, of course, when he joins us and his insight into party dynamics, Ogunshola will help us analyze some of these things. And of course, he will help us examine the root causes of this crisis and what it means for Nigeria's democratic future. But until then, I have with me right here, Oluwayemi Adelakun. Let's take a critical look at this particular topic as the opposition is currently fragmented. And what does that mean for Nigeria as a country? Yemi, good to have you back.
I'm glad to be back here. Well done.
The opposition in Nigeria seems to be fragmented, disjointed. In fact, you could use any word to describe what the opposition looks like in Nigeria right now. And even the president himself came out and said, look, I am usually happy when the opposition is in disarray. But do not forget that it was once in the camp of the opposition in Nigeria before the AD, AC, ACN, metamorphosed into the APC of today, and then they are now the ruling party at the federal level, even though they are opposition in some states too. So what would you say is the problem as it stands for oppositions in Nigeria? Also, over the last week, the ADC as a political party, I have always said that it is quite easy to push the blame to the federal government or maybe the president to say he has a hand in the crisis going on in your political party. But how do you say that the ADC that is meant to now come back to the drawing board and then find a lasting solution to their problems had parallel congresses across states? In Oyo State, as we speak, they have two party chairmen. The whole Alhaji Yinka Olono faction is still there. But then there's another faction that had their own congress at a different location, not the party office, which they used to be, a different faction. And that includes the party of Chief B.C. Laka from Oyo, who joined the party not too long ago, less than 4 or 5 months ago, and then went to Abuja, had a series of meetings with some notable people in the ADC, and then created his own faction of the party. That also happened. Even in Enugu, they have 3 different factions of the ADC in Enugu now. Is that still the problem of the presidency or even President Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself?
Obviously not. And then I think you're very spot on by saying it's very easy to blame the president for the woes of the opposition parties, but then there are some apparent issues that we can speak to. And then I would love to start with the ego of some top shot in each political parties. You see, it is very sad to see that the political parties of the First Republic didn't behave like this. And that's why opposition back then was very strong. If you look at the likes of AG, Action Group, yes, it didn't have a national outlook. It was more of a regional party. But the ideology was strong. The loyalty of the party members was very effective. You can't find that in some of the political parties that we have now. Even the parties that had national outlook in the First Republic, Second Republic, you can't compare it to what we have now. Those persons did not place their own interests above every other thing. Yeah, the personal interest was there, but then the national interest was also very key. But if you look at some of the big shots in these opposition parties, it's more of their own interest than the national interest, and then it will always affect. So a party divided against itself cannot tackle the ruling party. It's not going to work. If you look at Labour Party, for instance, they've been trying to slug it out, leadership crisis. Abure is not the party chairman, and Nandi is the party chairman. Recently, they even went to court.
The Lamedia Papa faction.
Exactly. So why we having issues like that? And then one more thing that is causing this whole problem is ability to resolve post-election crisis. What do I mean by that? If If you remember in 2022, PDP, for instance, at the point, they said, let presidency be zoned to the south. But no, some of the factions said, we are zoning it to the north. And because of that, some party members said, I am going to work against this
your
party.
Still in the same party with you,
but I
want to work against you.
They were, some of them even went on national TV. We don't need to call names now. If they can hear us now, they can tell that I'm the one this person is talking to. They went on national TV, they worked against the party, and even after the election, the crisis continued. Don't forget the G5. No, the G5 is no more now. They buried that.
Samuel Otom of
exactly.
Makinde of Oyo State, Wike of River State, and I think there's one more. I will remember his name.
Yeah, Samuel Otom. Have you mentioned Samuel Otom?
Yes, I have mentioned.
Yeah, so 5 of them, the G5 happened that time because some persons were against Atiku running for presidency again. Do you know that after election, they didn't take their time to resolve the whole matter? And that's why PDP is in shambles as we speak. Even currently, I think they've decided to zone to the south, but can it cover for the error of that 2022? Party members must accept that this is what we are doing. Because I think that's one of the major problems that we are having. They don't accept. Some persons will say we are doing this, some others will say we are doing that. And at the end of the day, they will work for the other party. Do you know some members of the PDP work for the APC to become, to get the ticket, to win the presidency? And they are seeing the party. And then away from that, we also need to talk, I mentioned the ego of some persons. You see, loyalty should be the first thing. If a member of the political party...
Is it just about ego or what you call personal ambition? Sometimes ambitions get in the way. I mean, you want to be loyal, but then someone offers you something way more juicy than what you are currently getting in your political party, and then you tend to jump the ship.
Yeah, personal ambition can also be a problem. Let me cite an example now. After Goodluck Jonathan ruled for the first time and he wanted to contest, some person said he's greedy. Even Ofino on this table, I said it many times that Goodluck Jonathan was greedy to have contested again. He should have actually let it go, maybe just come back. So it can speak to the issue of personal ambition too. That why can't you wait? If you think contesting again would affect the party structure, why can't you wait? Why can't you agree if maybe let's say 70% of the party members want you to wait, and then the other 30 are supporting you? Why can't you look at that number and then decide to say, I just want to wait for the sake of the party, for the unity, so that you people can still be in power? I tell you, maybe if Jonathan did not contest again, maybe PDP will not be here. Maybe if Atiku Abubakar did not contest in 2023, maybe PDP will not be in shambles today. If presidency was zoned to the south, maybe PDP will still be flying, or PDP will still be strong. Yes, they might not be in power, but you cannot see, at the time, PDP used to be the best political party in Africa, not just in Nigeria.
The biggest.
Exactly. And at that point, they said they were going to rule for 100 years.
50, initially they said 50. After
and
that,
they changed it to 100. Now, they are not... I'm not sure PDP can smell presidency in the next few years. Why? Because the structure has been affected. And this is the reason. No, frequent defection. See, when a big shot leaves a political party, it will affect the structure. That person has huge follower. For the following numbers, that person can talk to some persons to say, arrange this for me, this. It will affect the party structure. So because of the massive defection of the big shots from the PDP to the ADC, it has affected the structure.
It's just like you have your reading table at home and then you break one of the legs. I mean, it's never going to be
It's never going to be the same. So the ambition, personal ambition, and I think it speaks to the likes of people who have been contesting severally. Talk about Atiku. Some persons are saying that he should just calm down for a bit and not contest and allow the younger ones to contest. But I don't see that happening, sadly.
Have you seen the trend in Oyo State recently? Just mentioned the PDP, and that's why I want us to talk about it, because we are still talking about oppositions. Now, the PDP in Oyo State, there have been some names being thrown up in some quarters, some retaining their tickets. In some cases, tickets are also going to some other people. And in some places, the tickets are still being disputed. I could remember there was a video I saw for Oluyole State constituency, and that is where Honorable Waheed Akintayo Ilumoka came from. And some people are saying, look, we don't want him. It's either you bring us... It was about 7 of the candidates, aspirants that were vying for the same ticket. They came out to say, look, we know you have not chosen us, but you cannot choose this man. Instead of choosing this man, go and bring a neutral person. We will support that person. We don't want this person. And there are so many other, even in Akiele, disputed tickets here and there because they wanted to go with a consensus. Now, the big question is, they are still in the PDP, okay? So, on what platform do they want to contest? Because right now, are they still looking at a case where they're going to have a sit-down with Nyesom Wike and his faction? or they have another party in mind. Some have even talked about the SDP, the NDP. Some even said they are already building a secret nest in a political party, that they will just finish their consensus and then move that structure into a different political party. But it's not going to be easy, because those parties also have their structures too. But the case of the SDP has been effectively put to bed, because one of the aspirants of the APC, Chief Said Oladele, left the APC, and he's been muted to be having conversation with the SDP already. So what will happen to the people of Oyo State in the next general election? Are we still going to have them on the ballot? Or do you think, okay, let me put it this way, do you think people who are still very loyal to Governor Seyi Makinde are doing that at their own peril right now?
I think the issue of Oyo State is a bit dicey, and then I fear for your state, especially if you look at the people who are already trying to put up their campaign banners, and then people are asking who is going to be the next governor. I remember during the FCT poll, the Wike faction, PDP, do you know they won election?
Right.
They won a particular seat. And then people were asking, what's the fate of the other faction of PDP in that same FCT? I remember in the last few weeks, they are trying to come up with a reconciliation meeting at the faction of Wike and the Makinde will come together. I don't think it's going to work, because even Bala Mohammed, who's at a point in time, he said he's not APC can never be the best option. Do you know that recently the national chairman of APC went to visit him, and we've been seeing pictures of him and some members of the APC, so chances are high that he might actually defect. So if he should defect, what's the fate of Makinde? Makinde will be like the lone governor in that faction of his. So I don't think these people can come together. At the end of the day, it appears one faction has the upper hand, and that's the Wike faction. So if you look at the supporters of Seyi Makinde is yet to name whosoever he wants to support for the election. And I think that because of that, we cannot really pinpoint who is going to emerge as the next governor. But at the end of the day, I want to refer back to what happened to Makinde. Do you know the first time he contested? I watched a video of Alawakala, the late governor. Do you know he said that, who is Makinde? He said, if you can't top politicians in Oyo State, can he even get number 5? Because at that time, Makinde was not popular, but he was able to bank on the structure of PDP at that time, and he won that election. So when he won the second time, okay, you can say it speaks to his popularity. By then, he was already popular. He's done so many things for the people. But the first time, Makinde won on the popularity of PDP, on the strength of PDP in Oyo State. But looking at what is going on now, PDP is not as strong as before. Yeah, even if there's any faction that is strong, you might want to talk about Wike faction, because according to the court ruling, the court recognized the Wike faction. Even INEC.
It's on the portal.
It's on the portal. So it's a little bit.
And they now have access to the party secretariat in Abuja. It was
exactly
opened, I think, on Saturday. And of course, renovation is ongoing there. And there was a picture or a video of this Samuel Hayawu, of course, who was at the party secretariat, taking care of things there. Meaning that indicates that even INEC and the federal government now recognizes that faction of the PDP. So the big question is, those who are still loyal to Governor Seyi Makinde in Oyo State, with the timeline INEC has given to them to settle, or either settle or fail to show up on the ballot. Because, of course, the faction of Nyesom Wike in Oyo State, they are also gathering momentum. They are having consensus candidates for these same positions that the Seyi Makinde faction are also selecting people for. So the big question, are they going to field two candidates? Because obviously the law does not recognize that. The problem now is, what will happen to PDP in Oyo State right now?
Okay.
Should we now assume or believe that they are going to move to a different political party just before the deadline?
Right. I don't see Wike leaving PDP. Not even now. I don't see him leaving. So then the fate of the loyalists of Seyi Makinde might be that if they count their course, they might actually decide to align with the faction of Wike, even as we progress. But then if these two individuals want to do PDP any good, they should find a common ground, come together, at least for the sake of your state. But I don't see that happening. And then the implication of that is the Wike, or let me say the Makinde loyalists now, might decide to just align with Wike.
He said something just before we go on a short break. He said, I will put fire in your state. And at the top point, he also said, I'm interested in that Oyo State. I'm interested.
So was drinking.
okay, he thought it was a joke. And now, has it actually put fire in the
I mean,
Kidiki
it's happening
State?
already. And if care is not taken, it might take over Oyo State, because at the end of the day, Makinde cannot contest again. If Makinde still has that window of contesting again, maybe there might be a chance because of his popularity. People recognize him more than Wike. I mean, Wike is not so popular in Oyo State. I'm not saying people do not know him. But because of the power that he wields, especially with the backing of the court and INEC, they are set for a convention. And then you will see INEC officials. Don't forget that, during the convention of the Makinde faction, INEC officials didn't show up. And of course, the convention was null and void. So Wike has the upper hand now. So what I'm saying is, those who are loyal to Makinde, if they count their course in the next few days, they are not seeing any reconciliation progress between these two people. I bet it with you. Some of them might align with the Wike faction.
Okay, very quickly, we'll go on a short break. And when we return, the show continues. It is still the big story on Daybreak Live on Dominion Television.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
All right, welcome back from that short break. The show is still at Daybreak Live, and this is the big story. I have with me in the studio Honorable Ogunshola Ismail Eleshi. And of course, we'll help us unpack some of these interesting talking points on the show this morning. Nigeria now has fragmented opposition. what's the position of the AAC and some other political parties right now? And what is the future of opposition in Nigeria? Honorable Mushola, good to have you in the studio.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good morning. Yeah, I mean, we've always been here before. I mean, for some of us who are students of history, we understand war opposition has always been in this part of the world. Though our position has always been clear, that if you're talking about opposition, you need to be very clear what you are defining. Because the people or party that people refer to as opposition, we do ask, what exactly are they opposing? Right? Because for us, opposition is not just about you being in another political party.
Okay.
Because if you look at the crop of people they call opposition today, yesterday, not literally, yesterday, they were in APC, in the ruling party. So tomorrow they just wake up in another party and they become opposition? No, that is not what opposition should be.
So what is true opposition?
Opposition should be about ideas, the policies of the ruling party that you are opposed to, their ideas that you are opposed to. Like, look at during the electioneering 2023-2022 election, and the ruling party, they were saying that they will remove subsidy. The Labour Party candidate, Peter Obi, was saying that he will remove subsidy. Atiku of the PDP, he will remove subsidy. So they are not opposed.
They have the same idea.
Exactly. So you can't call them opposition, as it were. So this is our own idea of what opposition should be. As a matter of fact, the African Action Congress, AAC, we are the only party who is opposed to everything the ruling party is doing. Their ideas, their policies, and their programs. And this is the reason why we say that in the real sense, AAC is the only opposition as of today. Because when you look at the 22 political parties, check their manifestos, check their ideas, their founding ideas, you will also understand that it is only the African Action Congress that is socialist. All of the 21 other parties are right-wing, we are left-wing. So that is what opposition should mean. So we are on the opposing side. So for us, that is what opposition is all about. And this is why the African Action Congress is so important in our political space today to make sure that there is still an iota of democracy in what we are practicing.
So how damaging is a one-party state to Nigeria as a country?
Yeah, of course. We can't
and
say...
you also believe that Nigeria is gradually drifting towards a one-party state?
Yeah, of course, we can say that we are practicing democracy and it's all looking like is just a party that is controlling every realm of our polity. And the reason why I said that we've been here before was also because when PDP was also in power in the early 2000s, there were times that they had control of over 31 states as well, just like APC is doing today, right? And back then, it is the same element in APC today that were fighting them back then for dragging Nigeria into a one-party state. Now they are in position. They are doing the exact same thing.
Someone also mentioned, I think that was last week, saying, look, the opposition, the ADC says they wanted to use some facilities, but the ruling party have been blocking all of that. But it happened before, when even the APC wanted to use some facilities in Abuja, and the PDP has at that time, kept blocking the way.
Exactly.
So, just like you said, is it now safe to say that we have the same set of people in different political parties?
Exactly. That's what it has always been, right? And that was the reason why I said a lot of them will wake up as a PDP and go to bed as an APC. So cross-carpeting is very, very easy for them because they are not opposing anything. To them, or for them, it's majorly about their interest. Wherever their interest lies, they go. So they are not really opposing anything. And this is the reason why I said that AAC is the only opposition we have, as it were. And also, it's also a thing of concern because everything I've said is about the ideas. But what is actually happening and that led to the ADC protesting last week, and we supported their protest because we've been there before too. right? We've been there before when there were some characters sponsored to hijack our party. And we were in court for 3 years fighting them. But what helped us, and we make joke about this with the ADC people, what helped us was because of the fact that we own our own power party.
Okay.
We are the owner of this party. But in their own case, the African Democratic Congress, they don't own the party. They just moved in just yesterday. So they are tenants.
It means that two hijackers fighting, trying to hijack one political
Literally,
party.
that's what it is. So when you now look at it, though there will be elements sponsored to torment trouble in there, but then there's also the reality of you met some people in this party. You are just coming just yesterday.
So, are you also of the same school of thought that this crisis in the ADC is state-sponsored?
Of course, there are elements that will be sponsored.
And do you think
there are elements that are fighting genuinely.
Do you think the ADC actually followed the due process in the first
I think
place?
they did not. Because, and this is why I said that there are foundational member of this ADC that are actually fighting genuinely. And left to me, they will win if they really want to fight, right? And we have someone like Dumebi Kashuku, who was their last presidential candidate. You can't just want to run him aside, and when he fights, you say that he was being sponsored. Someone like that, you get. I'm actually talking about Kashuku now. Someone like that, you can't say he's being sponsored. He was the presidential candidate of the party the last time. So you can't say that. If anything, if you want to go by that theory, he can also lay claim that you guys coming from APC, the likes of El Rufai, Malami, he can lay claim that you are being sponsored by the APC because you are the ones coming from APC, right? But that's not to say that there are no concern that there might be people acting in the interest of APC within the party. That's very, very, because we've been there too before. But we won, we fought, we won. And this is also why we tell these people that, you know, they don't have that fighting spirit. Because whenever they sense trouble, they leave. Look at what happened to them in Labour Party. Small trouble in Labour Party, they left. So you can't keep moving. You need to build something to compete.
Now, let's talk about the people in the ADC and all other political parties. Yeah. Rotimi Amechi was formerly of the PDP. He left the PDP, APC, from APC now ADC. Yeah. Atiku Abubakar was PDP, ACN. In fact, right from onset, it was SDP back then. And a lot of people, Malam Nasir El-Rufai too, was a progressive at a point and also has moved from one place to the other. Talking about Peter Obi was Abga, PDP, from PDP to Labour Party to ADC, and some are even saying he might likely also move from ADC to another political party before the deadline. These are people who are journeyman politicians. They have moved from one political party to the other. Now, let's talk about ideology. Doesn't mean that their ideologies or maybe have always aligned with these parties they have moved to, or it's just about interest for them and not ideology?
Yeah, it is the two, actually. Because when you look at it, it's actually their interest, wherever they are interested. Because you take Peter Obi, for instance. He ran the primaries of PDP. And when things were not going in favor, he moved to the Labour Party.
Labour Party.
So in that sense, you can say it's for his own interest. Even though Labour Party is not really right-wing back then, it's a Labour Party, a workers' party. Okay. So ideology doesn't mean anything at that point. It's about his interest. So he quickly moved to Labour Party. But it's also about ideology because when you look at it, and you remember I said earlier that the African Action Congress, the only left-wing party as of today. So this is the reason why they were moving. They can't move to AAC. Because they know that the ideology of AAC is sacrosanct. It cannot be compromised. So they will not try it. Because we, at the leadership of AAC, we got some messages from some friends in Labour Party, making inquiry if there is a likelihood of Peter Obi moving to AAC when the issue with Labour Party started after the election, right? They make the inquiry, and the response they got, they know that, no, there is no pathway here. So they couldn't bring their man to the AAC. So they know that these people, their own ideology cannot be compromised. So they won't come to AAC. So for them, they will go to other parties that they feel like, okay, these ones, their ideology is still aligned with us. And this is why I said that they are all right-wing. So they can move because the ideology is quite the same. And you also listen to Peter Obi during the election saying that they have the same ideology. They are his big brothers, talking about Tinubu and Atiku. That they don't have any different ideology.
Some have also, lastly before we go, some have also accused Peter Obi of rolling with people he initially condemned. And then recently he made a statement, and some of people have also reacted to that statement saying, I roll with them because I feel I can change them. Do you actually change people? Is it possible for people to change? And does ideology change people too?
You see, that's actually
because at the point he has called Atiku Abubakar names. He says a lot of things about Rotimi
criminality, yes.
Malam Nasir Rufai. He condemned all of them while he was in Labour Party, even when he was with PDP. And now these are the same people that you are rolling with in ADC.
Exactly. And if you look at the political space recently, at least for the past few days, this is the major reason why a lot of his supporters, I mean Peter Obi, are now dissociating with him because of these people.
Are they truly dissociated?
Of course, of course. Some of them have even joined the African Action Congress this past 4 days.
Looks like your party is gathering momentum.
Of course, of course. And look.
Who are you fielding for the presidency?
Of course, Omoyele Sowore has declared interest to run.
And he's still, he's more or less, do you have National Party chairman?
He's our party chairman.
He's still your party chairman.
We just elected him some months ago. Because, you know, I said that we were in court for 3 years. So for those 3 years, there was no administrative activities in our party.
So before the election,
he was
going to drop the chairmanship.
No, he might not likely drop it because we've had our convention and it just emerged. So
some people are already calling your party the Omoyele Sowore party. He's everywhere. Is he still? He's also the treasurer, the secretary.
No, we have a team of competent, sound, brilliant young people in our executives. Right? And for the best of our activities, you only see Omoyele Sowore in the ceremonial figure like that. He is the ceremonial figure because he is popular like that. Just like what Atiku is to PDP back then, what Tinubu is to APC, what Peter Obi is to Labour Party then. So we also have a figure like that in our party, and that's Omoyele Sowore. But the day-to-day running of our party, we have competent heads running the party, even at the state level.
Do you have party structures in all states?
Of course. We have, because I ran for election the last election, 2023. And in my constituency, that's Ibarakba in Oyo State here, we have a structure. We have people on ground. We have boots on ground that are working. And still having meetings since then. Party, local government meeting, ward meeting, since 2023. That's a remote place like Ibarakba. And we have people doing the same thing in Lagos State, Oyo State, Abuja, everywhere in Nigeria. So we have that structure. And like I said, Omoyele Sowore is just like the ceremonial figure. It's just like the popular figure in the party. So it's this cheap gaslighting people do. It is the party chairman, is the party treasurer because he's that popular. This is why they. But when you look at our website, you find names, pictures, and details of all our executive members there. So it's also a thing of when they don't have any other thing to, discourage people to join the party, they tend to use all these rhetorics, all these narratives of whereas most of, even our manifesto, we have competent handwriting and, deliberating on these things. We even have a educational department in our party that educates new people coming in.
Like orientation.
Exactly.
In 20 seconds before we go, does your party stand a chance in 2027?
Yeah.
Do you think your party can win the election?
Yeah, of course. Of course, I do think and I do believe that we have a chance. And the bulk of it lies on the people. And we've positioned ourselves to be the face and the party of the people. So it is left for the people to embrace their own platform. And that is our message to them. All
right, Honorable Ogushola Ismail, thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me.
It has been a wonderful session with you.
Yeah,
now, as we wrap up today's big story, one thing remains clear. Democracy is not just about elections. It is about balance, accountability, and credible alternatives. And the fragmented opposition doesn't just weaken political parties. It weakens the entire democratic system. The big question now is whether Nigeria's opposition can rebuild, reorganize, and rise to its responsibilities as a true counterforce. My thanks to our guest this morning, Honorable Mushola Ismail Eleshi, for sharing his insight on this critical issue. And you have been watching Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. This conversation continues because the future of our democracy depends on it. Stay informed, stay engaged. Samson Balogun is my name. Up next is Trend Watch. All right, welcome back from that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. And very quickly, we'll take Trend Watch on the show this morning. And Oluwayemi Adelaku is still very much here in the studio.
And I'm glad to be back here. Well done, Thompson. So what we hear for Trend Watch is saying, policemen fighting Luka Rawa terrorists in Kwara lament hunger, threatened to abandon posts over unpaid allowances for the past 3 months. Honestly, I don't think anyone can survive. I don't even know how they've been surviving for the past 3 months without their allowance, and I think it's a sad one. I recall that recently even the soldiers said they are going to leave a particular post. Why? Because the ammunition that these guys are carrying, is stronger than what they are carrying, and then you are also complaining about welfare. So it's a problem in this country. Well,
it's very sad that the people fighting insurgency and maintaining Nigeria's territorial sovereignty, they are really under this kind of pressure. And to know that they are at a disadvantage every time they have had to represent Nigeria and fight for Nigeria is really, really disheartening. I mean, you can't really blame people for doing some things they do, even though there's no justification for it. I mean, you accuse police officers of of, taking money from motorists, and they're doing all sorts of things when they buy their own uniforms, buy their own shoes, buy a lot of things from the meager amount of money they earn as salaries. I mean, that's really disheartening, but unfortunately, that is the situation we have found ourselves. How do you survive for 3 months with no allowances? I mean, this is not just that you have been placed in a position to just watch, or maybe you just sleep and wake up. You are there to lay down your lives if need be. I mean, that's the job for them.
And the life you want to lay down, you are even hungry.
It's about life and death. Every day for them is like, they live like they are going to, anything can happen tomorrow morning. Some of them are injured. Some of them are just there. There's nothing to do anymore. And then this is all, they have been reduced to beg just because they can feed, when you have actually sent them to represent the country somewhere. I mean, that's really sad.
And one of them said he's going to leave because he's better off with his family, even if they are hungry, than for him to just die, like an animal on that battlefield.
Very disheartening. Let's take one comment before we go. Adeson Bankole says PBAT is busy spending billions of dollars on Nigeria's money on lobbying U.S. governments, media propaganda, electoral campaign, and causing chaos in opposition political parties, while security agents in front line are being owed salaries that is not even enough for them.
And top up for really saying that's how the joint border patrol teams comprising the Army, Police, TSS, Immigration, and Customs ended all porous borders open. I think this person is trying to say that's the reason why some of our borders are open, because most of them have left. Well, I just hope that this news will get to the
right quarters.
The right quarters, exactly.
And the right thing is done. Well, it's a fine place to leave the show this morning. We say thank you for being a part of the show so far. Do well to link up with us on all socials, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter at Dominion Cast. We've got a lot of interesting programs lined up for you today. Stay tuned and stay glued to your TV set and your devices as Dominion Television brings you interesting programs. And of course, join us again tomorrow on Daybreak Live, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Samson Balogun is my name. As I always say, keep being good out there, keep being safe. Bye for now.
Yeah, thank you for joining today. See you tomorrow. My name is Olayemi Adelakun. Good morning.